Hello and welcome to the Startup and Career Show, your destination for inspirational stories and real life experiences of startup founders, corporate leaders, and authors. I'm your host, Rishabh, in conversation with Jitendra Choksi, fondly known as JC. He's the founder and CEO of Fitter, a leading tech enabled community first health and fitness platform. It's a community of over 3 million people spread across 104 countries. A very warm welcome, JC. Glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Rishabh. It's a pleasure.
So, JC, to begin with, I want to ask you, why do you call yourself an accidental entrepreneur?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. Actually, when we started Fitter, it was not really intended as a business. It was just like me trying to help some people get fit. And then we created this Facebook group where I started helping people with their queries. Around the same time, I started, writing articles, even published a small booklet, which I distributed for free. And for 1.5 years, it was just this community, me answering questions. We had no idea that this is going to turn into a business. And one thing led to another, found some people, chipped in like 90,000 rupees to build the initial website. And then, we took off. And so I just feel like it was something which I didn't want to do. I wouldn't say I want to do. It was like, it was not something I was trying to do. It just happened. It just happened. And so that's why accidental entrepreneur. And it's a good reminder that sometimes in life you're not in control, and things just happen, and you just have to make the best use of them. That's all.
That's incredible, JC. But as an accidental entrepreneur, can you talk about building Fitter from scratch? Because yes, you started off not thinking of making it as a business, but then after all, you built it. It's a big entity now. So can you talk about that aspect?
Yeah. Right. So we started off on a small WhatsApp group, and a couple of friends, they reached out to me and asked me if I can help them get fed. I was working in IT at that time. I'm a software engineer by profession, and I've worked for about 8 years in different IT companies. And so, yeah, people reached out. I started helping them on WhatsApp. I gave them diet and training plans. And when they got fit, they told other people, and then other people told other people. And at one point, I had like more than 200 people, and so WhatsApp at the time had a capacity of 200 people. So we moved them to, Facebook group. And instead of, uh, like giving them diet and training plans, I thought it would be a good idea for me to kind of publish a book summarizing my findings. And if I can train them, teach them how to make their own diet and training plans. And at the time, it was like, they wanted me to make their diet plan. So I said, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. You can do the same, right? So that was the idea. And I published that book on Facebook group, and the book got kind of viral at the time. A lot of people downloaded it. And then after downloading it, some people started following it, some people got results, and some people had doubts. And so everybody started posting everything in the group. And so over a period of time, more and more people kept joining, more and more people started transforming. And then there was a recurring theme where people wanted me to personally train them. And I was like, look, everything is there. Why don't you guys just read and do it yourself? They said, hey, the information is great, but we need somebody to monitor us, somebody to hold us accountable. And we need that personal touch, motivation, and everything. That's when I realized that this is the awareness part is, yes, it's one side of the coin, but there is a much larger problem, which is personal touch, accountability, motivation, keeping people on track. It's like, you can go become a doctor on YouTube, just learn on Khan Academy, and but you go to a medical school because you have teachers, so the teachers are important. And so with this thought in mind, I found some people within the same Facebook community who were as helpful as me. And we collected about 90,000 rupees and built our first website, which was very simple, that if you need any information around health and fitness, you get everything free of cost. We also help you make your diet and training plan for free. But if you need somebody to personally handhold you, guide you, train you, you pay a small amount, and you get results in a matter of 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. If you're not happy with the results, you get your money back, right? So the promise was, I think at the time, was very unique, because at the time in fitness industry, there was no order, and people were charging like crazy sums of money without any guarantees. And it was not sustainable. So we brought transparency, accountability, sustainability, and everything was science-backed, right? So we built the website, and the first month we had about 14 coaches, and we got almost a business of around 10 lakh rupees in the first month itself. And then from then onwards, we were growing like, 100, 200%. And by the end of the year, we were already doing a business of 10 crores. And since then, we continued to bootstrap for 5 years, made it to YC, quit YC, and then, Sequoia happened, and Dream 11 happened, Elysian Park happened. And so now we do hundreds of crores of revenue every year. And yeah, we are soon to be turning profitable. Next month onwards, we'll be turning profitable again. So that's
This is awesome, JC. But before we talk about the fitness part of the conversation, you touched upon you joined YC and you moved out of it. If you can just touch base, what happened and how did that phase out?
So I wasn't really looking for YC. It was a colleague of mine who casually applied to it. He got selected, and then I went for a personal interview. I was at my very casual. They asked me for my MIS monthly documents. First, they didn't believe that we were doing that kind of business. And so when we sent our MIS and everything, there was no further questions. We got selected. Y Combinator, I think it was great. We got a lot of good press release in the media and everywhere. And that was the first time anybody ever noticed us. This is despite the fact that we were doing 50 crores of revenue and we were profitable, right? Until this point, nobody was focusing on what Fitter was doing. So I think when we got into YC, the part that excited me the most was that it got us into limelight, right? And just before YC, I was also in one of the boot camps that MIT conducts every year in Japan, Tokyo. And before that, I was suffering from something called as founder's depression, imposter syndrome, right? And I felt like that my knowledge wasn't at par, or I'm probably not a great leader that this company deserves, and I need to either learn more or maybe have somebody else run the business. So those were the thoughts that were going through at the time, and everything was perfect. But sometimes when things are perfect, just mind does its own things. And so YC seemed like an opportunity where I'd go and learn a lot. And so even though the deal was like 7% in convertible notes, right, for a 100K, which was like pretty meager sum at the time, I didn't pay much attention to it because at the time I was just focused on learning. And that was our first round, which means we own 100% of the business, right? So I wasn't really worried about liquidity. I wasn't worried about how much stake we were giving out. I was just thinking, hey, look, if I can learn at YC, it's like me paying for a school or a college. I don't have to worry about equity. So those were the precise thoughts with which I went to YC. I spent about 3 weeks. The first week was pretty incredible. We got to meet founders of Airbnb, Reddit, and learn from their personal journeys. But after that, it was kind of all about impressing the investors. At times, we were just put in classrooms and we were just asked to perfect the pitches. And then I realized, hey, look, YC makes money only when out of all these 200, 300 odd founders, out of them, some founders end up raising larger rounds. And when they raise larger rounds, obviously the convertible notes, they become stakes in the company. So for YC, it makes sense to have all the founders in one place, and they would want to optimize for raising funds. It was never about how to run your business effectively. And so that's where there was a huge disconnect, because I felt like, hey, I'm just one of the founders who they intend to raise funds. I'm not their priority. Their priority is founders who would be able to raise a Series A, Series B, or something, right? So I think that's where I kind of felt bad, and so I reached out to the team and told them, hey, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this. I want to focus on something that really educates me about business. And then went to a Boston boot camp where we learned about scaling businesses. That was incredible, 5-day boot camp. And then got into Sequoia immediately after that. And that 4-month course, that was like really life altering. Sequoia Surge I highly recommend to every founder. It's like way ahead of YC, smaller cohorts, 10, 15 founders, and very comprehensive. So all my business knowledge, at this moment, it comes from Sequoia Search. Yeah. I have to kind of give credits to YC. I think YC is a huge brand. So if you get into YC, don't feel bad. YC is not easy to get into. So, very few founders get into YC. At the time, we were like um, one of 15 or 20 companies in India that made it to the venture batch. So don't feel bad if you get into YC. It's still an incredible achievement. Also, the kind of press release, the notability that you get out of getting into YC is incredible. It's unmatched, probably more than even Sequoia Search. But program-wise, content-wise, if you're looking purely to learn and looking at a better deal, Sequoia Search is a better choice. Yeah.
Got it. So, Jesse, you mentioned you started as a WhatsApp group, right? Which was completely free. Then you migrated towards Facebook. But how did you develop your monetization model when you were scaling up the business? Because I believe you were the first one to offer a course for a smaller fee, but at the same time also offering a complete return if people are not happy. But how did you scale up the monetization bit? Because that's where I think many people struggle as well, right?
I think people, again, we are not that big a business, right? They're like, okay. So I don't consider myself an expert. So everything that I'm saying is purely my personal opinion. And that's why I don't train people or mentor people, because I don't feel I'm a great businessman. I personally feel that we need to first test it out, test the hypothesis. If you are not testing the hypothesis in the right manner, then there's no point of you scaling the business. If you do your hypothesis testing regressively, then the business scales automatically without putting additional efforts. I mean, in the first year, if you have to take a lot of help from marketing or advertisement, I believe that's kind of counterintuitive, because if you were really solving a problem and your solution was kind of good, you should get a lot of customers purely from word of mouth, which is what happened in our case. Even today, now, of course, we did marketing for the last 2 years, but now we are not doing any kind of marketing. It's purely just word of mouth, right? So I believe that a great business scales a lot through word of mouth, and then marketing can probably help them top up, help them top up. But at the initial stages, people should focus on getting the first 100 customers at least through word of mouth. So I believe if we can get 100 customers through word of mouth initially, you've got a good business, and then marketing can just help you. But don't expect marketing to solve a bad business problem. If your business is bad, no amount of marketing is going to fix that for you.
Absolutely. And it just turns out to be a burning hole later on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, JC, you were the pioneer in the fintech industry in India, so to speak, right? Because when you started out back then, there were not many players there. So tell me what innovations are happening in fitness tech industry. And moreover, how is Fitter revolutionizing the whole industry now going forward?
Well, I think at the time, most of the companies were largely, asset heavy, and everything was like, in person. And one of the biggest problems with in person is that it becomes too expensive to run, and it's not very easy to scale because you have geographic limitations, right? And I think one thing that we did right was we held on to our belief that, hey, online can scale, and we scaled. I mean, even before COVID, we were still growing 30-40% annually, right? We were still doing 50 crores in revenue. So I believe that it was just a matter of convincing people. I think the best thing was at the time Facebook launching groups, and social media had already convinced people that, hey, you can talk to people remotely and people can be your friends in any part of the world. So if people can be your friends in any part of the world, you can shop anything online. Why can't you get fit online? Right. So it was just a matter of convincing people. And I think we did that incredibly well at the time. I think now a lot of people have got onto this phenomenon. Everybody is doing fitness training online. Most of the Instagrammers, fitness influencers, India's got about Overall, on Instagram, we have got 40 million plus fitness influencers. Everybody is doing their thing online, right? So it's a crowded market now. Another aspect is that we focused on beyond diet and training plan. So there are nuances. There are behavioral aspects which nobody seems to take into consideration, which is like, hey, you've got a diet plan, you've got a training plan, which you can also download from AI. Like you type on ChatGPT, I need 1800 calorie diet plan, veg, non-veg, all these things, you get it free of cost, right? But do you really follow the plan? And why don't you? So this is a nuanced aspect that very few people understand. And I think this is where we have kind of mastered it. We believe that it's not the diet and training plan that makes people fit, it's the habit building process. And habit building is the worst. It's the most difficult part because you are already accustomed to doing certain things in a certain manner. And for somebody to even drink half liter extra water per day, or maybe get additional 30 minutes of sleep per day, it is like difficult for them to change, but it can bring a whole lot of difference. And when then the difference comes is when the people realize, oh my God, this is amazing. I didn't know half an hour of extra sleep could do this to my body. Okay. I didn't know that drinking additional 1 liter of water could do this to my body. So it's very simple stuff. But because they're not repeating the simple stuff, they are going away from health and well-being. So what we are doing is we are trying to make them do this boring stuff and make them kind of fall in love with the process and make them, like understand the importance of boredom, importance of repeating the same stuff every day, importance of discipline. That's what we do.
Well, that's incredible because habit forming or habit changing is very difficult, right? And it takes persuasion to a different level. So I think that's where you guys create a difference. But tell me, JC, what you also mentioned was whereas all the other players were asset heavy models, right? You guys were also empowering the trainers in a way. So can you share your journey, how Fitter was empowering these fitness enthusiasts? And what support system do you guys actually provide? So one on the trainer side and the others on the consumer side.
Right. So one of the things I noticed that when I started training people in the very beginning, even though I was training for free, people respected me a lot. And that's why when I was telling somebody, hey, you need to do this thing, I never faced any kind of resistance. On the other hand, if people go to a gym trainer, they don't respect them for some reason. Maybe it has to do with their financial status or the way they carry themselves or probably their communication skills. And I realized, hey, if you have to become an effective coach, you have to command respect from your clients. You cannot be somebody who's incredibly unfit, indisciplined person without any future. So I realized that, hey, if my coaches have to command respect and they have to train people who are doing much, much better in society, they will have to command respect. And for that, they need to be physically, mentally, socially, and financially well themselves. I don't want my client treating my coaches like they are, some random guys. I want them to understand, hey, this guy earns more than me. He's probably physically, socially, mentally, and financially better than me. And so what he's saying, I better listen because he knows better than me. Unless until the other person knows that you're better than him, you will not get the kind of respect, And I keep getting this thing again and again. Every time I train somebody, they respect me. So I command that respect because they know that I'm in a much better physical shape than they are. I'm financially much better than they're doing, right? I'm socially much better than they're doing. Unless until you do that, it's very difficult for you to become an effective communicator, an effective coach. And so right from the get-go, we knew that our coaches have to make a lot of money. And so while the gyms were charging 70% commission for the trainers, we started off with 30 actually. And now our blend is just about 50, but that's only when the trainers are making large sums of money. On an average, a Fitter coach makes an average of 1 lakh plus a month, right? And the top 20% of the coaches make between 6 to 8 lakh rupees a month. Average 50% of the coaches make between 3 to 4 lakh rupees a month. So way above industry standards in India, right? And there's a proper path for all these coaches where there's no ceiling, so they can continue to grow. And it's an incredibly satisfying business because you know that what you're doing is bringing a lot of difference to people's lives. And one life then has the possibility to transforming other lives. So we keep getting these incredible, amazing emails from people how we have changed their lives, right? So it's a very satisfying job. It's a well-paying job, but at the same time, you also get a lot of negativity from people because people are going through a lot of problem and then they open up to you. And so you end up absorbing a lot of people's problems, right? And you still have to be mentally be in the right zone to be able to suggest them the right thing. So if your client is breaking in front of you, you can't break with him. You have to still kind of, tell them, hey, it's going to be fine. So it's also incredibly difficult job. So we groomed our coaches in a manner where they can sustain the pressure, do physically well, obviously because they are into job of fitness, do mentally well as financially well. And when all the four things they were doing better, we just realized that people were coming to us because they finally found coaches that they can listen to, right? So it was kind of part of the plan.
Wow. So you've created an Uberization of model within the fitness industry, so to speak, by bringing quality coaches at the doorstep,
Yeah.
so to speak. Right. That's an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the coaches, our coaches aren't just 12th pass students. They are lawyers, they are doctors, they are physicians. We have 30 plus doctors who are now coaches with Fitter platform, right? So even if they are doctor, we have mandated them that they have to complete an INFS diploma course. We don't take any other international certification. We have our own diploma, which we have built over a period of time by real hands-on training experience with our clients and taking their feedback. So the course material is unparalleled. It doesn't just touch upon the technicalities, it also touches upon the behavioral aspect, how important is communication, how important is, motivating your clients, and all the things necessary to kind of deliver, not just in theory, but in real life, right? So that's what I think keeps us ahead of everybody else in the market. So Fitter coaching is the best. I have to kind of highlight that out of all the things. Yeah.
That's incredible, JC. But tell me, for all the startup founders, who are juggling many roles and corporate executives working non-stop under pressure, right? So can you suggest ways for integrating fitness and wellness into our daily lives?
The first thing you have to do is you have to prioritize it. If you don't prioritize fitness, you can get the best trainer, you can get the best coach, you can get the best supplements, best gyms. It's not going to happen. A lot of people enroll for gyms where they pay huge sums of money, but don't go after a week, right? So don't do that. You don't need a gym. You don't need an expensive trainer. You don't need supplements. You don't need expensive food. What you do need is the mindset that, hey, I'm going to prioritize fitness. It has to be one of the top priority items on my to-do list. Like I'm brushing my teeth, I'm taking a shower. Because if I don't brush my teeth, if I don't take shower, what will happen? My teeth will turn yellow, and over a period of time, they'll start falling off. My hair will go bad. My skin will start looking bad. I'll start stinking, and that's why I clean my body. It's the same with physical fitness. If you don't do that over a period of time, your body will start falling apart. So don't just look at what's visual. You also have to start looking at what's going to happen inside your body, right? So start prioritizing your body. If you start prioritizing your body, give it 15 minutes. Say you're busy. I know a lot of people are like, I don't have time to go to the gym. Don't go to the gym. You have 15 minutes. 15 minutes. What can you do in 15 minutes? Can you do, let's say, 10 push-ups? Can you do 20 squats? That's it. Day one. That's the start of your fitness journey. That's all it takes. Now keep doing it 365 days a year. What do you think is going to happen? Your body will start changing because you are doing less. It will change less, but it will change nonetheless. And that's what's important. Now keep doing it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. What's going to happen? You are still going to be doing better than 90% of the people out there who are not doing anything. Right? So by just giving 15, 20 minutes per day, just by doing the same basic movements every single day, you can do so much more. The problem is people think that one fine day they'll wake up, they'll do like 6 hours of workout and they'll build this incredibly amazing body. Doesn't happen. I've been training for 24 years. 24 years. When you think it like that, I've been building my company for 8 years. 24 years is much, much more than that, right? So I've been training for 24 years. And I'll keep training till the last day of my life. because I understand the importance of training. It's a part of my routine. Just like I will not give up on brushing my teeth or taking a shower, I will not stop training. I hope this makes sense. So prioritize. Some people take 1 hour to shower, some people can do it in 5 minutes. Some people take 2 minutes to brush, some people will do it 15 minutes. There's no right or wrong. You decide, but keep doing it every single day, and you're going to be much, much better than what you were.
Absolutely. I think what you said is you actually hit the nail at the right time, because people wait that, okay, I'll do it. And they do it or especially you have this thing with the New Year resolution as well. It hardly lasts a week and it just falls apart. But tell me, just the other thing is people are also stressed for time, right? And I'm sure you must also be getting people saying that they don't have time and that. So what are the nutrition hacks that you suggest for maintaining the fitness regime?
Just understand one thing. Every species on the planet eats the same kind of food, eats the same food, and they still get excited. Okay? You don't have to have different kinds of food every single day. There's nothing amazing about a human body. There's 24 million different species out there. All of them can eat the same food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But you want chappan bhog for every meal. That's crazy, right? So why do you think that you need to eat so much of food, so many varieties? Why can't you just get accustomed to food? At the end of the day, food is fuel. You want everybody, including yourself, to believe that this food is the cause of pleasure. It's not. Once it's inside your mouth, your body doesn't feel anything. All the taste, it's in your mouth. If somebody cuts out your tongue, you can survive on just liquid juice and whatever, right? So it's a tongue. You have to resist the temptation and treat food as fuel, nothing more. Stop romanticizing with your food. It's gonna break your heart. It is breaking a lot of hearts, by the way. In India, 20 lakh plus people die every year because of cardiovascular incidents. Major cause, lifestyle issues. Lifestyle issues, major cause, overeating of food, too much sugar, too much crap, too much alcohol, too much drink. So I think people are fantasizing food. They're romancing with the food. And I don't think that's a great idea. It's a one-sided love, and it's just gonna end up hurting you physically, mentally, emotionally also. The relationship's not going anywhere. So stop romanticizing with your food.
Absolutely. Absolutely, JC. That's a very interesting answer that you said, because I think that will break multiple industries as well, not only hearts, because food in itself is a big industry, right?
Yeah, and I think what's happening is that people are capitalizing on other people's gullibility. And see, this is the thing, over a period of time, as you tend to get comfortable, you get not just physically weak, you're also mentally weak.
Yeah.
A physically weak person by default becomes mentally weak. Okay, because he's not learning discipline. Discipline needs to be learned every single day. The minute you stop learning discipline is the minute you become indisciplined, right? So when you go out there, do some sort of physical labor, you understand the importance of restraint. You understand the importance of discipline. You understand the importance of repeating the same stuff over and over again. And that automatically kind of also gets set in your mind. So when somebody says, hey, why don't you do this? And you'd realize, hey, if I'm not doing this with my body, I'm not falling for this gimmick for my mind, right? So it's very easy to convince a physically weak person that he needs to eat more. Just send him a notification, give him a discount. And the person's like, yeah, sure, I'll have chole bhature, even though I just had my full meal, right? So people are becoming mentally weaker, primarily because they are becoming physically weaker.
Yeah.
So they need to understand that and this is the gullibility, the culpability of people is being, people are kind of taking advantage of this. So people need to stop falling for these kind of gimmicks.
True, absolutely, absolutely. And you made an interesting point, because it's not only just about physical well-being, but it also helps into mental well-being as well. But and since people are gullible as well, so how do we build the strong mindset for fitness, JC?
Well, it's like night and day. There's no night without the day, and there's no day without the night. And so physical and mental, they kind of go hand in hand. You cannot be physically fit without being mentally fit. Similarly, you can't be mentally fit without being physically fit. So just start with day one. The minute you decide, hey, I'm going to start my fitness journey. See, you've already become mentally more stronger because you finally made a decision that you're going to stick with.
True.
Every day you show up at the gym, you have exhibited that you can do something good repeatedly. So you're automatically getting strong in here. It's like you are doing one thing that you're not comfortable doing, but you are doing it nonetheless. So every day you show up at the gym, you are becoming that much mentally strong. And when you do that for one thing, you apply the same restraint, you apply the same discipline to every aspect of your life, not just in physical fitness. You apply that in relationships, which is very important. People think that relationships have some sort of different secrets, or finances have some sort of different secrets. It's the same value system. You have to endure a great relationship, a great social presence, a great mental, clarity, a great physical body. They all follow the same underlying principles, which is you follow the fundamentals, you repeat the fundamentals, and then compounding, takes place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think Fitter also follows this mantra, right? That fitness for all. So how is your approach towards inclusivity and accessibility? You said online is everything possible these days. So if you can just share those aspects as well.
Well, we have all sorts of people, people who are physically abled, and people who are especially abled, and we have transformation challenges for all of them. So we get people from diverse backgrounds, different races, different countries, different physical abilities, different day one, so we get all sorts of people. And it's a community where everybody is kind of living, thriving beautifully with one aim, is to become a better version of ourselves. Right. So that's what we do. Besides that, I don't think we have some sort of like any sort of special thing going on. We just feel like, hey, look, we have one mission, which is like we have to become a better version of ourselves. So there's no need for people to kind of feel left out or feel like, hey, this guy is better than me or that, because nobody's fighting with you, nobody's competing with you. Everybody is kind of competing with their past selves, right? So I think that small thing, it has a much larger meaning, and it keeps everybody together.
True. Absolutely, JC. I think we've had a wonderful conversation on fitness. But one last question before you leave. Any last advice you want to give to other fitness enthusiasts, as well as to those who take fitness for granted?
Look, I was just talking about this to somebody in the morning today, and I made a post about it. I said, if you live in a house with a broken ceiling, where the roof is kind of leaking, it has garbage lying all over, and the walls are cracking, you'd feel miserable. You'd not like it. You'd probably curse the guy who sold that house to you, and you'll go any extent to fix the problems, because now this is your house and you have to live in it. No matter what happens, you have to live in it and you have to fix it, or the problems will keep getting worse. And yet people live in bodies with so many problems that needs fixing, ignoring them till one fine day everything starts falling apart. I'm saying, why do you have to wait till then? Because when that day comes, you're not just making your life miserable, you're making the lives of everybody around you miserable. And it happens. It's not like you are going to be saved by some angels or something. It happens with everybody. Everybody. We've seen thousands, millions of examples of people ignoring their health when they are young, and then maybe doing really well, incredibly well, wealthy individuals, but just couldn't survive.
Yeah.
And going out in the worst possible ways, giving everybody a message that you should prioritize the health, but they didn't. So I'm saying we better listen. No amount of wealth can buy an ounce of health. You can accumulate all the wealth in the world, but that will not make you happy if you're not healthy. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, JC. On that note, thank you. Thank you, JC, for taking out time today with us. It was great speaking to you. Lovely having you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Rishabh. You have a great day, buddy.
Thank you. To all our listeners, thank you guys for joining us today. And we continue on our mission for bringing more such real life and inspiring stories. Goodbye, guys. Signing off for now.